He ruled the most powerful empire in human history. He commanded legions that could crush nations. And yet, Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal that the greatest battle of his life was never on a battlefield. It was inside his own mind. You are not suffering because of what happens to you. He wrote those words nearly 2,000 years ago, and they might be the most important words you hear today. Because right now, as you watch this, there's a war happening inside you. A war between what is and what you think should be. Reality versus resistance. That gap between those two things, that's where all your suffering lies. Not in your circumstances, not in your problems, but in your refusal to accept what already is. Marcus Aurelius understood this, and what he discovered changed how humanity thinks about pain, struggle, and the human condition. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Today, we unlock the vault on the most powerful Roman emperor's most dangerous discovery, the resistance trap. Here's something that will change how you see your entire life. Most of what you call suffering isn't actually suffering, it's resistance. Think about it. When something bad happens, there are two distinct experiences. First, there's the event itself, the thing that actually occurred. Then there's your reaction, your judgment, your mental commentary about why this shouldn't have happened. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Marcus Aurelius noticed something profound during his years as emperor. The event itself lasted moments, but his mind could stretch that suffering for days, weeks, even years, not by experiencing the pain, but by resisting it, by arguing with reality, by insisting that things should be different than they are. Pain is inevitable. Suffering, that's the story you tell yourself about the pain. It's the resistance, the refusal, the mental war against what already exists. And here's the dark truth Marcus discovered. You cannot win a war against reality. Reality has already won. It already is. But this understanding leads us to something even more disturbing about how your mind works. The hidden war. Inside your skull, there's a war you never signed up for. Every single day, your mind generates between 60 to 80,000 thoughts, and the vast majority of them, they are arguments with reality. This shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't have done that. Life should be fair. I should be further along. Can you hear it? That voice that never stops judging, comparing, resisting. Marcus Aurelius heard it too. Even as the most powerful man in the world, he couldn't escape his own mind. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. But here's what he realized. The mind that resists reality creates its own prison. You're not suffering because your life is hard. You're suffering because somewhere, deep inside, you believe life shouldn't be hard. You're not in pain because things go wrong. You're in pain because you've decided things should always go right. If this ancient wisdom is starting to open your eyes, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human wisdom, because what Marcus discovered next might be the key to your freedom. Reality always wins. Marcus Aurelius spent 19 years fighting wars on the Roman frontier. He watched friends die. He buried his children. He faced plagues that killed millions. And through all of it, he kept writing, not public speeches, private notes to himself, reminders about how to think. Acceptance, that word appears again and again in his meditations. Not passive acceptance, not giving up, but a radical recognition that what is, simply is. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. Think about the last time you were truly upset, not just inconvenienced, genuinely disturbed. Now ask yourself, were you fighting the situation? Or were you fighting your own thoughts about the situation? Event versus interpretation. Marcus understood that between every event and your response, there's a space. In that space lies your power. The power to choose your interpretation. The power to stop arguing with what already exists. But accepting reality requires something most people are terrified to face. The ego's game. Why do we resist reality so fiercely? Because our ego has a game it loves to play. The game is called I Know Better. Your ego believes it knows how the universe should operate. It has opinions about how other people should behave, how your career should unfold, how your relationships should work, how life itself should treat you. And every time reality doesn't match those expectations, your ego screams in protest. That scream, that's what you call suffering. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth. His ego could have been the size of the empire itself. Yet he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." He understood something crucial. The ego doesn't want solutions. It wants to be right. It would rather suffer and be right than accept reality and find peace. The crown sees its reflection and finds emptiness. The ego's game keeps you trapped in an endless cycle, but Marcus found the exit. The Stoic secret. The Stoics had a concept that changed Marcus Aurelius's life. They called it the dichotomy of control. It sounds simple. It's actually revolutionary. 1. Some things are within your control. 2. Some things are not within your control. 3. Suffering comes from confusing the two. That's it. That's the secret that helped an emperor maintain his sanity while the world burned around him. You control your thoughts, your judgments, your efforts, your responses. You do not control external events, other people's actions, the past, or the future. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Most of your suffering comes from trying to control what you cannot control and ignoring what you actually can control. Control your response. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, something miraculous happens. You find energy you didn't know you had, because resistance is exhausting. Acceptance is energizing. But this leads us to a question that most people are afraid to ask. Amor fati. There's a concept the Stoics took even further than acceptance. They called it amor fati, love of fate, not just accepting what happens, loving what happens. Everything, the failures, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, the losses, loving all of it. This sounds insane to modern ears. Love your suffering, love your obstacles. But Marcus Aurelius understood something we've forgotten. The obstacle is the way. Every challenge you face is not blocking your path. It is your path. Every problem is not preventing your growth. It's creating your growth. What stands in the way becomes the way forward. Think about who you are today. Every scar, every lesson, every piece of wisdom you carry. Where did it come from? Not from the easy times, from the hard ones. Pressure creates diamonds. Fire forges steel, and your struggles, they're forging something too. But can you actually practice this in daily life? Marcus showed us how. Morning practice. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius did something that might disturb you. Before his feet touched the floor, he reminded himself of everything that could go wrong that day. Begin each day by telling yourself, "Today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." This wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. It was removing the shock value from reality. It was eliminating the gap between expectation and experience. Expect obstacles, embrace them. When you expect nothing but ease, every difficulty feels like a personal attack. When you expect challenges, they become just challenges, nothing more, nothing personal. Marcus also practiced what Stoics call negative visualization, imagining loss, contemplating death, not to be morbid, but to appreciate what exists now. The present moment is all you ever have. When you truly understand that everything can be taken, you stop taking anything for granted, and something shifts inside you. But there's one more lesson Marcus left us: the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius described the mind as an inner citadel, a fortress that cannot be conquered unless you open the gates yourself. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Think about that. The Emperor of Rome, the man who could have any palace, any escape, any distraction, said the only true sanctuary was inside his own mind. But here's the key he discovered. Most people have left the gates of their citadel wide open. Every complaint is an open gate. Every judgment is an open gate. Every time you say this shouldn't be happening, you're inviting suffering inside your walls. Guard your mind. Your circumstances can be attacked. Your body can be harmed. Your possessions can be taken. But your inner citadel, that can only fall from within, through your own resistance. through your own judgments, through your own refusal to accept what is. And this brings us to the ultimate question Marcus faced. Death's teacher. Marcus Aurelius thought about death constantly, not in fear, as a teacher. Memento mori, remember that you will die. Mortality. He watched plagues sweep through Rome. He buried 4 of his children. He saw death everywhere, and instead of looking away, he looked directly at it. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Why meditate on death? Because death puts everything in perspective. That argument you're having, temporary. That failure you're obsessing over, temporary. That success you're chasing, also temporary. Everything you cling to will one day be taken from you. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. When you truly accept your mortality, you stop wasting time resisting the small stuff. You stop arguing with moments that will soon be gone anyway. Time runs out, death arrives, and what remains? Only how you lived, only how you responded, only who you became, and that brings us to what Marcus wanted you to understand. The final truth. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD. Nearly 2,000 years later, his private journal, never meant for publication, has become one of the most influential books in human history. Meditations. The private thoughts of an emperor who spent his life learning one lesson. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not your circumstances, not your achievements, not what happens to you, the quality of your thoughts. You choose your thoughts. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can continue resisting reality, fighting what is, arguing with the universe, exhausting yourself against the immovable, or you can do what Marcus learned to do, accept what is, use what you can control, release what you cannot. The obstacle becomes the way when you stop fighting it. Your suffering isn't mandatory. It never was. It was always resistance in disguise. And now you know. The war transforms into peace, and freedom emerges. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his greatest conquest was never territory. It was himself. Every morning for 19 years, he reminded himself that he controlled nothing but his own mind. And that was enough. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. You're not suffering because of your circumstances. You're suffering because you're resisting them. The moment you stop fighting what is, the moment you accept reality as your teacher, the moment you love your fate instead of cursing it, you become free. This isn't philosophy. This is the operating manual for a peaceful mind, written by a man who faced war, plague, betrayal, and death, and found tranquility anyway. If you made it this far, comment Inner Citadel below to prove you're building your fortress. The wisdom of the ages is yours. Use it well. If Marcus Aurelius opened something in you today, subscribe. The vault has more wisdom waiting.